So I'm Geraldine. Hello. I worked at Hilton Worldwide for 15 years. I was the head of digital. I joined Hilton just at the time when the internet was still called the internet. And we called it dub and www and all that. We still put all that in our advertising. So I was right place, right time, right ambition, and leaned into it and became the head of digital. And then about 4 years ago now, we brought traditional marketing and digital marketing together. And Mark, somewhere in the room, was part of that journey with me. I moved from Hilton 9 months ago. I've spent some time at WeWork, the co-office sharing company, and I'm about to go on my next venture, which I'm not allowed to tell you about, but you will hear it within the next 5 days. So, hello. I have two beautiful sons, Jack and Ben, two teenage boys who keep telling me that nobody does Facebook anymore, nobody does email anymore, and it's like, God, I can't keep up with them. And as a marketeer, I don't think how we appeal to whichever industry, all of you as leaders in your industry, in your company, as the head of marketing, we are the ones that need to shake the board and tell them it's not the way it was. It's got to be different. And every day I think it needs to change, and every day I think it does differ. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story of what I've learned, what I can share with you, and what I think a lot of people have asked me, how did you get that done? How? Not what, but how. And so I'm just going to take the next 10 minutes and just talk to you about how Hilton, particularly around my journey at Hilton. Hilton has 5,000 hotels, all the way from Hampton through Waldorf Astoria, and every brand in between, in over 105 countries, speaking 105 or 100 odd languages. Some of the things that we as marketeers, and we as we think about how we're going to be successful versus our competition, whichever industry you're in, how do you get that done? And I've just got a few things of, when I look back, like, I'm never the smartest person in the room, but I've just got a few things that I will share with you. And this is the thing that, it's a phrase that I put on when I was on stage in front of all of our general managers, like 14 years ago. It's a quote from Mario Andretti, a Formula One driver. And I love this, because I'm never in control, which means that I am going fast enough. But Formula One, he said, if you're in control, you're not going fast enough. You're not trying hard enough. So if you don't fail, and there's all these things about you fail, whatever, but if you're, and I love this more than anything, which is, if you're in control, you're just not going fast enough. And I love speed. And I think we as marketeers, as digital, as the people that really should be driving our businesses forward, challenging the board, asking for more money, we are the people that should be doing that. And this is, in my view, this is my mantra. And as I was head of digital and then head of marketing, and then we combined them, I was often asked, well, hospitality, you're in the people business. It's people serving people. We're in a hotel today. It's a physical business. We're all human beings at the end of the day, yet we're all human beings, and yet we live in a digital world. That's reality, right? Every one of you has a device on your, I'm glad that you're not looking at it, but every one of you has a device in front of you. And I was often challenged about, in a physical world where people are still human beings, We still have children. We still are all about human interaction in a digital world. How do you make that work? How does that become successful? How does that make you create market share? And I often, maths is not my strong point, but 1 and 1 equals 3. Physical and digital, phygital. Make 1 and 1 equal 3. Take the best part of us, take the best part of digital, and make it better for people. And I'm just going to briefly talk about how we did that 1 and 1 equals 3. And there are 3 things that I think, I've got a simple brain, but I think if you can remember 3 things, the 3 things that when somebody says, how did you get that done? I think it's down to 3 things. BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals. As leaders, every one of you leads your business. Prioritize, because you can't do everything. And there's a lot of shiny new objects. There's a lot of new technology. There's a lot of new, different things that you can do. And there's a ton of agencies that will come and say, this is great. You need to steer your team to prioritize and ignore the shiny new objects and go after the really big thing that's going to make a difference. And then finally, as leaders, and I think the final one is the most important, which is about leadership and culture. So, big, hairy, audacious goals, a few examples of that that we did at Hilton. I always think, make it really simple. That means it doesn't matter if you tell it to the taxi driver that brought you here, or you tell it to somebody in the street, or you tell it to your board, or you tell it to the temp that you've just brought in. If it passes all those tests, it needs to. And that is, make it really simple. And so there's a couple of things that, a few things that we did. I said we're going to do 22 language websites by the end of the year. And I said that in January, and we did it in 12 months. 22 languages, end of the year. And that was finite. Now, cost a ton of money, but we did it, and we did it. Hire and house 150 people in 6 months. And we did that. We bought, and I had to pick out the carpet and all kinds of things. It was really fun. But we hired and housed 150 people in 6 months. Again, it was how people can get their heads around digital check-in. We talked about it before. So, you're all like, when is she going to shut up? Right, everybody, stand up those, because I'm doing all the work here. Stand up those who, when you check into, or when you fly, check in the day before. Check on your phone. No, you have to stand up. Come on, work with me here. Right? You don't check in. There's 2 at the front here that don't check in. And you don't check. And you choose your seat, right? Okay, thank you. That was just to make sure you were all still awake. Just to give me a bit. And you choose your seat because you never want to be in the middle, right? We did this and I was saying to my table, my colleagues on my table today, Hilton are the only hotel company that does this, which is you can check in the day before and you can also choose the room that you want. Now, you do that in an airline, right? Easy. You're like, oh, but every 777 is the same. And every time a 777 lands, everybody in that aircraft gets off. Every hotel is different. In fact, every floor on a hotel can be different, and often people don't check out the same day. So some people check in on a Monday and they check out on a Wednesday. So we did check-in, digital check-in the day before. You check in and you choose your room. And you do it on a virtual floor plan, just as you do on, in And this is an example of, you can go to the floor that you want, you can see where the elevators are, the lifts are, the vending machine, etc. The next consequence to that is then you turn the mobile phone, the smartphone, into a key. And we did that and again, back to big, hairy, audacious goals. I said to the board, we're going to do this at 2,500 hotels in 2 years. And we did it. Again, back to simple, clear direction that gets everybody running up the hill after you. And you might think, well, what's that to do with marketing? The thing is, if you get all these things right, if they're customer-centric, your customers become your marketeers. They become what you're seeing in Instagram, etc., become your marketing voice, and they're much louder than we will ever be. Again, when we brought digital and marketing together, I said we're going to do the biggest marketing campaign in the company's history. Hilton is 100 years next year, and Mark was part of this journey. I was appointed CMO in September, and I said, at the Grammys on the 15th of February next year, we are going to launch the biggest campaign the company's ever done, and we're going to do it through every one of our brands. I don't care if you're Hampton or Doubletree or Hilton or Waldorf or Conrad, we're going to do it throughout. And I don't care if you're in Singapore or London or Memphis, we're going to do it everywhere. And we did it, and we did launch it. And the thing is, the excitement that that brings as a leader, the excitement that people gain, and the momentum that that drives becomes, it was called Stop Clicking Around. We had it everywhere, all over the world, and I had literally general managers taking shots on their phone and sending me saying, I've just seen Stop Clicking Around all over the place. It's infectious, and it's great. And we also relaunched the Waldorf Astoria brand from what was traditionally thought of as the Waldorf Astoria New York, the grand old lady, to the Waldorf Astoria Beverly Hills, which is a sexy, contemporary, luxury hotel brand. So, big, hairy, audacious goals, put it out there, and I always talk about right to left, not left to right. Don't think about where you're starting from. Think about where you want to be, and then work back from that. We are going to do 22 languages by the end of the year. Go and figure out how we get there. And that is infectious. And I do think that that is part of us as marketeers. We're not just marketing to our customers, we're marketing to our company, to our employees. And it does become really infectious to everybody around you. Prioritize. So big, hairy, audacious goals. I've given you some examples of what we did and we successfully achieved. Prioritize. It is one of the things that was very unpopular at a time when I inherited it. The digital world, we had 12 brands at the time, and we had 12 apps in the App Store. One for Hampton, and I'm sure you all have the same thing, one for every brand. And I'm like, we can't do this. You can't have 12 stellar, brilliant apps. And I said, we have 12 apps in the App Store. Our average rating is about 1.5 stars. So we were crap. And I'm like, we're going to have one. And that was back to big, hairy, audacious goals. One hero app. That was what it was called. When I put it in front of the investment committee, that was what the project was called. One hero app. It's going to be one, it's going to be hero, and it's going to be an app. And I convinced the brand heads, bit of broken fingers, but I convinced the brand heads to go to one hero app. And the Hilton app in the App Store right now, you can look at it yourself, is 4.8 stars. It's rated higher than Uber, Expedia, Booking.com, and any of its competitor set. And that is about prioritization. It's about, we can't You can't please all of the people all of the time, but you have to prioritize. And what do your customers really want? If what your customers really, they don't care, Hampton or this brand or that brand. They care about, does it make my life easier? Does it work better? And that's how I think back to prioritization we do it. And again, I've talked about digital check-in. We partnered with Google. I know that those two things don't generally work. But we did partner with Google and overlaid our maps onto Google Maps. We partnered with Uber so that you can order your Uber. And why did we do that? Because that's what customers want. Is that not just better? Instead of going out from here to there and there and there. Like, don't put walls where, if you do it around the customer, digital key. And this is the bit, you can favorite a room. And I also think it's really about surprise and delight too. So, which is, if you favorite a room, you've checked into this room before and you really like it, and you favorite it, instead of doing F for favorite, put a little love heart. It's just like, that's what we do, right? It's like, make it cute and make it fun. So, have you ever ordered room service and thought, have I got time to get in the shower before that gets here? Right? So, back to the surprise and delight. Looking at our floor plans, this is not done at scale, I have to admit. I got this into one hotel before I left Hilton. And I was like, I've shown this so many times, I'm like, they're bloody going to get this in somewhere. And we did, we got it in one hotel. So we made it so that you could see the hamburger come in the corridor. But that's a little bit of fun and a little bit of surprise and delight. And it's kind of like, how do you get sparkle? And how do you get a little bit of fun at the same time as giving functionality to customers? And then finally, which is the most important thing, so big, hairy, audacious goals, prioritize, because any technology company and any agency will always be at you, because you're leaders and you're budget holders and your decisions in your business. And they're always going to come along to your team and to you to say, this is great and I can help you do this. And I'm sure you get it all the time. Prioritization is really important. But the most important thing, in my view, and the most important thing that I think and how I have been through my team successful, is about leadership. And you are all leaders. And for me, that's our responsibility. And it's not about marketing or sales or finance or anything. Leadership is a skill in and of itself. The Chief Operating Officer of McLaren Racing spoke at one of our conferences a few years ago, and I have shamelessly coined his phrase over and over and over again. His name is Jonathan Neal. And he said, Formula One, if you show up a fraction of a second late at a Formula One race, you're done. Right? You cannot be fraction of a second late. And I love this, he said, our team is about people. World-class teams, world-class people like to be tested on a world-class stage every minute of every day. Because it's about, they're the absolute top of their game. And they like to, and they love that adrenaline, because it's, are we good enough? Did we make it? And I love that. And I coined this phrase, and NGE, not good enough. And sometimes I would send emails back to people saying NGE, and it became a bit of fun. But I love that, which is at the absolute pinnacle of all of your teams, which is every day, be better than you were yesterday. Like, jump higher, push harder. And I think as leaders, that's what I always ask my team to do. And I ask it of myself every day too, which is, Are we good enough? Are we better than yesterday? And what that will do is it will have people run up the hill after you. I never like to, there's the carrot and the stick thing. People say that people want to run up the hill after you because you have big, hairy, audacious goals. Success is infectious. People want to be part of that, and they do. But you also have to help them up there. And ultimately what that means is that if you're in a big organization, a big cruise liner, you can become the speedboat. Marketing, digital, becomes the speedboat that shimmies in and out. And actually, they're looking at you saying, how the hell did they do that? And we move faster than everybody else. So, big, hairy, audacious goals, prioritization, and leadership are the three things that I think. And I've just given you the bloody answer. So I'm going to have to put both those things into the silent auction because I've just told you the answer, which I was going to say, what are the three things? What are the three things? BHAG, prioritization, and leadership. So I think I'm going to put the AirPods and the Apple Watch. See, just so that you know that I'm not lying, that marketing, we do link AirPods and Apple Watch. So thank you very much. That was a little bit of insight. Thank you, GDS Group, for asking me.